Yo, golf fans, Big D back with a 2022 year in golf recap on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in my golfing buddy from the UK, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where hopefully we'll be able to trace back on memories, whether we shake one out of bounds or made a hole in one. Also, check out the Big D podcast for all your audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So joining us from jolly old England today, my friend Tom Jacobs. Tom, World Cup didn't go that well, but I can't believe we're talking a year in golf already
I
going by. It
know.
seemed like we were just talking about last year, right?
I feel like it's been a long time we've been doing these podcasts now, Dylan, isn't it? Right? I think it's been. Did we do the Masters last year? Did like 2021? I can't remember
I
now.
think the first one we did was the 21 US Open because you're like in Sandwich, England, because you're like right down the road from there, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. So yeah, 2021 Open, and it's been awesome. It's always good to come on here, and but at the same time, where has the time gone? I think a lot has changed in golf, and we're going to come on to LIV and PGA Tour and DP World Tour and all, and how it's all being split up. And I think there's going to be, you've already said it off air, like there's going to be a lot still happening in 2023 with all those sort of things. But I think a lot of people have stepped up this year in response to the other tour, should we call it for now? And it's brought out some sort of leaders and kind of, big time players, I think.
Well, thinking back to 2022, who do you think was the best golfer from beginning to end of the season? Because I think you could argue there are 2 or 3 guys.
I think it's tough. I think longevity wise, it was probably Rory. But he didn't win a major, right? And that's really important. So Scottie Scheffler got hot for pretty much the first half of the season, and then he won the Masters, and it's pretty fair to say that he fell off a little bit. I would say that he probably deserves it based on the fact that he won the Masters, won the match play. What else did he win? Bay Hill, Phoenix. So like he won some really good events, right? Cameron Smith was very, very good. So I think you're probably looking at Scottie Scheffler, Cameron Smith, and Rory Mcllroy. And I think Rory probably loses out just because of not winning that major. Then you've got to decide what you make of Cameron Smith. I mean, this is a guy that he won the Players, he won the Open Championship, he won the Tournament of Champions at the start of the year. All very, very good tournaments. He just made that move that people don't like. So I think it's probably between Scheffler and Smith, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say Scheffler because I think Scheffler was more consistent throughout the year. I mean, he won
Yeah.
Florida, match play, and Masters. And by the way, it's not like Scottie Scheffler was bad in a couple of major. He was one shot behind Fitzpatrick at the US Open and played pretty well at the Open. Not that great at Southern Hills.
Yeah. The only one
It's called favorite golf course in the world.
I think there was too much of a narrative around him, right? For that PGA was that he loved the golf course. He was coming in as a master champion, but we sort of say that he fell off, and then he finishes third in the BMW Championship in the playoffs. He finishes third at Mayakoba. He finished second at the Hero. Like he kind of brought it back. So I would say, on reflection, just because he was a new winner, if you like, and I think just how impressive he was to get to world number one as quick as he did. Was he like the quickest to get to world number one? It was pretty quick, wasn't it? So I think Cameron Smith was really good. I think consistency wise, it's not the same, but like when he had the chance to win, I think he did, and I think that's really important.
I'll tell you what, Scottie Scheffler ball striking, Cameron Smith putting, you make a happy.
You would, yeah. There wouldn't be any other winners, would there? So, it's pretty impressive. Well, how important was Rory McIlroy in 2022? Because I think there was a lot more that he gave to golf other than just his on-course stuff. Like I think like he's really stepped up as a leader. He's, leading the charge for the PGA Tour against LIV. Like I think he may be the most important golfer in the world, even including Tiger now.
I think Rory's golf's ambassador because of this anti-LIV movement what he did for the game. I mean, it seemed like everybody wanted Rory McIlroy to win that Open Championship in St. Andrews, and what happened almost felt sad for him
Yeah, I mean,
because he was carrying the whole golf world on his back, and winning. And I mean, he was my pick to win the U.S. Open. I'm like, he's going to win a major, and the fact he hasn't won a major in 8 years and dealt with all the pressure of being he and John Rahm being the most outspoken anti-live golfer showed how much he cares about the game.
yeah, I think the thing is with Rory is like everyone will basically say that at their best, like if everyone's at their best, Rory's the best. And I don't like that because I always feel like just because if Rory's at his best, you could say the same. If Cameron Smith was at his best, he's the best player in the world. And if DJ's at the best, like I don't think you're comparing the best to the best because like everyone's just really good. If they're all playing like a number one, they're the best, right? So I think it's a tough comment. I think is he the most talented? I think he changed the game in terms of his driving and the way that he approached the game. And I think that was a big movement, but I think he lost his edge a little bit when everyone else kind of started catching up with the ball speed and things like that. And I think that's why he hasn't won a major for 8 years. Like I think everyone's just got a little bit better. Like he was young and he hit the ball a long way and he was very, very talented short game and things like that. And I think people have just got better around him, like Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Scottie Scheffler, like Colin
Brooke,
Morikawa, Brooks, like people are just better. And like I don't think he's been able to unlike Tiger, who was just dominant whoever came along. Like I don't think Rory was capable of doing that. And I don't know that Tiger would be able to in this day and age either. I think it's just a really high standard of golf right now. So he does need to win one next year, is what I would say. He needs to win a major next year, and we obviously all probably hope it's going to be the Masters, so he can get that Grand Slam. But he needs to win a major next year, I think.
could you also argue that Roy's putting or maybe lack of putting has contributed to him not winning? Because we see in every major, whether it be the Masters, where basically one bad round and he's out, or the Open Championship in July, where Roy was leading and could not make anything in the final round.
When you go to like 2011 was when he lost that Masters, right, to Charles Schwartzel when he had that massive lead and he shot, was he shooting 80 in the final round on Sunday, right? And like he's never had a better chance than that. Like I know he had a decent chance the year Patrick Reed won, but he felt like he blew himself out early on the Sunday, and Reed was pretty much in control. Like I feel he is always putting in good rounds that everyone still believes that he's going to win at Augusta, but he doesn't do 4 days. And I think he gets to Wednesday and he puts too much pressure on himself to go out and shoot a low one on Thursday, doesn't, and then he's just playing catch up. And if he gets us to a hot start, it could all change this year, I think.
Hey, you imagine Roy McIlroy in the coming up 8-man corner for lead? The whole golfing world would be thinking this is going to be the time he wins.
Especially if it's against a live player. I think that's the like. If
Oh
it's
no,
like
Roy and Bryce.
Rory Bryson, Rory Smith, Rory Brooks, Rory DJ, like a final pairing of any one of those would be, it would be amazing. I think. Like I think it would be really exciting, and it would be good versus evil and all this sort of thing. Like I actually think it, for all everyone keeps saying it live makes golf bad. Like it improves the majors, I think, because there's always a narrative about these like guys on the other tour. So I think it's pretty exciting.
All right, so every year there seems to be a young golfer emerging. Who do you think was that young golfer this year?
I felt like it was a year where the veterans played better. Like I feel like it was a tough year for younger players. I would say Joaquin Niemann was showing plenty of promise before he made the move, obviously winning at Riviera. I would say Tom Kim, Joo-Young Kim was a big addition. Cameron Young, I guess, is still. He's not young, is he? So like, he's new rather than young. I would say it probably has to be Joaquin Niemann or Tom Kim.
Oh, I mean, Tom Kim win. Tom Kim's pretty good, a really good pick because he won Wyndham, and there seems to be something with these Asian golfers doing well. Hideki Matsuyama won the Masters a couple years ago. We've seen who's the other South Korean guy? I can't think of his name now.
Sung Jae-im?
Yeah, Sun J.M. won the Players a few years ago. There seems to be an emergence of golfers coming from Asia.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where they start off really young, right? And they're even younger in the women's game. Like they are ridiculous. So they start at like 14 and they're contending for majors or winning majors. So like they are just fanatical about it. And I think South Korea, Japan, China even, there's been a couple of good players on the DP World Tour. Like they really do, they get fanatical. Like I went to St Andrews in 2015. I think it was 2015. And Hideki Matsuyama was there, and all you could see was rows and rows and rows of Japanese journalists and photographers, right? And it's just they just get such a big following. It comes with a lot of pressure. There's military service to think about and things like that. So like, there's a lot of pressure on a South Korean to win a major, and I think they just try and do it young and get it off their shoulders, I guess. But he was showing stuff early. I remember picking him for the event in Saudi earlier in the season. Didn't do anything, but he looked like I think he played well on the first day. Then he was kind of finishing top 5 every time he played in the Asian Tour, Tom Kim. Then he finished 23rd at the US Open, 3rd at the Scottish Open, 7th at the Rocky Mortgage Classic, wins the Wyndham. Did he shoot a 60 in the final round? Or was it 59? Like 61? It was something ridiculous. 61, I think it was. And then goes and wins the Shriners as well. Like how good is this guy to go and follow it up so quickly? And now I guess the next step is competing in these majors. This is what the barometer is for everyone, right?
61.
61 in the final round. That's pretty awesome.
Not quite David. Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, not quite David Duval's 59 in 91, right?
Not quite. But I mean, for someone of his age, and I mean, just the occasion, I guess. Who would you say was the most improved golfer? Because I've got maybe 2, and I think one of them probably stands out from a PGA Tour perspective. But there's one that I think was really, really good on the DP World Tour. That if he had his shot on the PGA, would have been really good.
I wonder who you would say on the PGA Tour, because that would be interesting.
Thinking of a European golfer.
From where?
England.
It's not Fitzpatrick, right?
Fitz, right? Like I think he was the most improved golfer. Like I think just the way he was top draw every event he played basically at the start of the year. Like he won Valderrama at the tail end of last season. Then he finished 6th at Pebble Beach, 10th at Phoenix, 9th at Bay Hill, 5th at Valspar, 14th at the Masters, 2nd at Wells Fargo, 5th at the USPGA. Had a chance. Obviously had a chance at Wells Fargo as well. Wins the US Open, 6th at the Scottish Open, 5th at the Phillips St Jude, 2nd at the Italian Open. Should have won. Had a camera going off in the backswing there. Had a chance to win a sort of DP World Tour Championship. He's in top 5 there as well. So, like, I don't think anyone's improved more than him. Like to win that major and get that first PGA Tour win is pretty impressive.
Hey, I will say this: Matthew Fitzpatrick's drives went about 30 yards longer than I remember them going.
Well, because he said, I don't know if you remember this, Dylan, but like when Bryson was doing all the experimenting he was doing, he was like, "Oh, anyone can just go and hit it a long way and be successful. There's more to golf than that." And I sort of said at the time, like, if he thinks it's that easy, just go do it. Like, because you do have to hit it long. Like, there's just there's no choice. Like that's how you win now. And lo and behold, 2 or 3 years later, I mean, I don't think he's listening to me, Dylan, but I think he's kind of woken up a little bit. He starts to hit it 20, 30 yards longer, and all of a sudden he's contending for majors and winning majors. So, it's not a secret how he's got it done.
All right. So, what do you think was the craziest event? And it doesn't have to be a major. It could just be a crazy sequence of events, a crazy playoff. But what do you think was the craziest event of 2022?
I think it sort of depends on why it was crazy. Like the Players was a ridiculous week.
Oh
There was just
Lord, that was the coldest players I can
the
remember.
weather was horrible, probably a little bit like what you're having now. Like the weather was horrible. There was interruptions galore, and then Cameron Smith just came out and played lights out on the final round. That was great, pretty crazy. Tom Hoagie winning at Pebble, Jordan Spieth going when he made bogey on the 17th, I think, and then par on the 18th. That was pretty awesome from Tom Hoagie's perspective. Canadian Open was pretty wild. Rory won. Was it like JT and Finau in the final round that week as well? Like I think this was like the first time that LIV kind of got up and running, and they suddenly had JT, Finau, and Rory in the back nine with a chance to win. So I'd say any one of those kind of three, or Mito Pereira just absolutely shitting the bed at Southern Hills.
Oh no, he will not live down the shank of a lifetime with that 3-wood 18th hole.
Yeah, that was awful. So that probably wins in terms of like big moments, I guess. But there was a couple of things. I mean, what was your craziest?
I'm going to Memphis because that playoff between Sepp Straka and Will Zalatoris was one of the most insane playoffs I've ever seen in the history of golf. I mean,
Was that the one where he hit it off the rocks?
I mean, Zalatoris basically did everything but go in the water.
Yeah.
And then Straka followed him by hitting the ball in the water.
That was awful. Like all he had to do was go left side of the green. Did you remember that? That was weird. Yeah, that was crazy. And like, didn't Sepp Straka hold a couple of bombs just to even get in that playoffs anyway?
He held like he made like 2 long pole putts, and Zalatoris made one on the first, second playoff hole. I'm like, this one will never end. This could be one of those 8-hole playoffs.
There was one really long playoff this season, I think, wasn't there? I don't know if it was on the DBR Tour or the PGA Tour. Felt like there was a long playoff event. I can't remember which one it was now, but like they all merge into one now, and I talk about them every week. But yeah, I do remember that. I remember Zalatoris playing it off the rocks. That was crazy.
No, actually, he went back to the tee.
I did go back, didn't he? It looked like he was going to play it off the rocks, and they were like, he kept trying. He kept making it look like he was going to. He took like 10 minutes to decide. Then I remember that. Yeah, you're right. I remember it being a crazy decision as to why he was trying to go for the rocks.
And it wasn't just that, but you remember Torrey Pines Zalatoris was in the playoff, and then thinking this could be the week he gets that first win.
Luke List, wasn't it?
Yeah, Luke List winning at Torrey Pines.
Also, didn't Jason Day have a chance that week as well? He was in with us Hunt then, wasn't he?
Jason Day of all, but what happened to him?
Wow, that maybe we'll come on and talk about him in a little bit. Actually, I think there is some things to say about Jason Day, I think.
All right, Tom. So, what venue are you looking forward to seeing? Because we've got some interesting venues, especially for the majors. You see, obviously Augusta with the Masters, but Open at Royal Liverpool, right?
Yeah. So it's Royal Liverpool, which is also Hoylake. Like think back to 2014. I think it's just used a different name, but it's the same place.
And then PGA Championship at
Oak
Hill, which is actually now underwater.
No. It does. I think I'd tell you the one that you haven't said yet, which is the one I'm most excited about, is LA Country Club for the US Open, because I just don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about LA Country Club, and obviously I've got to kind of figure things out about LA Country Club before I give some picks and things like that. But like, this is a course that has basically turned down the US Open for like years. Apparently, like they just refused to let people do it. The members didn't want to give it up and close it for a major championship. So it sounds like it should be a really exclusive club that should provide a decent US Open, I think.
Yeah, I've tried to look up history from this club, and there's not. How about this?
No.
when lost. Wait, what is this? First major championship held at the club. First major in the LA area since the 95 PGA, and first US Open in the LA area in 75 years. Because you think of golf in LA at Riviera, which hosts an event every year for the last umpteen years, and I think it will host the Olympics in 2028. But the LA Country Club, and I'm gonna save a little more about the LA Country Club for my bold prediction, because there's one guy I really think will do very well there.
Like that. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, there's not masses of new courses on the PGA Tour this season. I can't think of that we haven't seen before. Is there?
I don't know if there is any for the playoff. Obviously, Tour Championships at East Lake like it always is, but I don't know if the first two are this.
Yeah, the BMW moves around, doesn't it? I can't remember where that's going to be this year. But they're not that exciting. They're all fairly similar events, and I'm pretty sure St. Jude will still be in Memphis. So I'm pretty sure that the courses are fairly similar this season. You know, there might be something. I think there's a couple of changes at Augusta this year. I think they've altered a couple of the tee boxes, which could be interesting. Just to try and make it a little bit harder again.
I think 13 might be a little longer.
Yeah, they're trying to force people into playing it as a 3-shotter, but it still won't work. Because at the moment you have to play it in 2 shots. Like there's just no other way to approach it. And I think they're trying to change that. But yeah, I mean, I think LA Country Club's pretty exciting. But let's look ahead to. I mean, what do you think was the most important thing of 2022 in golf? So we've said who our best players were. We've said who was the most improved. We said the best young player in Tom Kim. What was the biggest moment in golf? Is it LIV starting?
Unfortunately, it is LIV starting, because that created a rivalry between LIV and the PGA Tour, because now there are all kinds, because there's one group of guys the fans like and one group of guys the fans hate, based on whether you're a PGA Tour guy or an LIV guy.
So so any player that's moved over to LIV, do you suddenly not like them? Like do you not like DJ and Cameron Smith and that anymore? Or are you
not as much. Not as much.
It's tough, because I think it's easier to accept some of the smaller guys that have moved over there, because they can't afford to give up the life-changing money. Whereas like for people like DJ and Cameron Smith, and the money was going to come anyway. So it's different, right? I think it's different for every individual. And I could probably talk about this for hours in terms of whether it's good for golf, bad for golf. I think ultimately, in the end, it'll be a good thing that the PGA Tour got a little shake up and wasn't allowed to just be as comfortable as it was. I think they're going to have to work together next year. Whether that means Greg Norman goes or stays, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to just get rid of him like I think they are. But yeah, I think that has to be the biggest moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fact we heard, I think it was sometime a week and a half ago before the holidays, that the LIV guys we invited to the Masters. So you imagine Scottie Scheffler giving Cam Smith the green jacket in April. That would look weird.
It's tough. I mean, and I think they come straight from an event in Australia. Like, I don't think they have a very good preparation for Augusta either. Like, I think it's a pretty bad schedule for their majors. But like, it's so tough to decide whether they're actually going to be any good next year or not. But you know, at the end of the day, they're part of golf, and until they fall out of the top 50 in the world rankings, they're going to play these major events. Until they lose their eligibility for winning or top 10 in previous majors, they're going to keep their eligibility. Like, I don't think any of the majors is going to stand up and ban them.
All right, Tom. So you were great with bets last year, but I've got a question. Do you have a bold prediction for 2023?
I think that Jason Day could win a major next season.
What?
Yeah.
How?
I think he could win one of the PGA or the US Open. I don't know what LA Country Club is like, but I imagine his skill set will work there. It just feels like he's making a little bit of a comeback, and I know that's maybe a little bit premature considering where he is in the world rankings and all these sort of things. But like, it just feels like we've seen a little bit of Jason Day of old, and like last year, you got to think that like he lost his mum, he was dealing with injuries, all those sort of things. Like he's still outside the top 100, but Shriners, we saw him have a good run. CJ Cup, Houston, Mayakoba, like he's playing solidly again now. Rocket Mortgage, he had a decent run. I think we talked about it earlier. He had a chance to win at Torrey Pines right at the start of the year. So I think there's always still the ability to play well. And I think it could come back. I think he's going to be rededicated, refocused, injury-free. I think we could have a big year from Jason Day. It just depends how many, obviously, of the majors. I can't remember how many of them he's still eligible for. So he may not be in all of them at the moment. But I'm pretty sure he's already in the Masters. So
Be in the PGA.
He's definitely in the PGA, right? Because he's won that. So I think his eligibility must be coming up now for the majors. But I think anyone that he gets in, I think he's going to give it a good shot.
Oof. You surprised me with that bold.
Well, I had to go bold. I mean, like, I had to give you something spicy, Dylan.
Well, you know what? I've got one bold prediction next year. I think Will Zalatoris will not only get the major jinx off his back, but he will win the US Open.
So I actually think if he's going to win anywhere, it will be Augusta.
Why Augusta?
He's been like 2nd and 6th in 2 starts, hasn't he? Like he had that good run against Matsuyama when Matsuyama won it. He just has the skill set for it. The greens are hard for everybody. He was 1 shot shy of winning, or at least taking Matsuyama to a playoff. Like, I know Matsuyama was over par on the final day, so he shouldn't really have had a shot. And I know he's played better in US Opens and PGAs and things like that in general. But like, I just think he plays well at the Masters. Like, he shot 67 in the final round this year. He was top 6. He was 2nd on debut. The only concern with the Masters is it might come a bit too soon. Like, he's had injuries. His back's bad. Maybe it comes around too soon in the schedule. And you're right, it's the US Open or the PGA that suits him better. Oak Hill would probably fit his skill set. But like, we talk about players' skill sets now. Like, does anyone in the top 10 have a different skill set to the other? Like, they all just hit the ball really, really well and far. And like, it just comes down to who hits the best putts at the time.
I'll tell you why Will Zalatoris wins the US Open. If you look at where he finished 2nd last year in majors, PGA Championship in Southern Hills, Country Club, at Brookline. What do they both have in common? They're both Gilhan's redesigns. And guess what LA Country Club is? A Gilhan's redesign. You know what that means?
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, look, he's had 3 runner-up finishes in majors already. And he only really started playing them in 2020. He made 1 appearance in the US Open in 2018, missed the cut. Then he finished 6th on his 2nd US Open start in 2020. The Open didn't go ahead in 2020. He finished 2nd at the Masters, first ever Masters 2021, 8th at the PGA, first ever PGA. Missed the cut at the US Open. So interestingly, he's gone miscut 6th, miscut 2nd at the US Open. He had to withdraw from the Open Championship because he got injured. 6th at the Masters, 2nd at the PGA, 2nd at the US Open, 28th at the Open. Like, he is just awesome at major championships. So I think it's a pretty good prediction. I think it is bold. It's not one that you could just say with certainty. And I'll tell you someone else who I think is on that, who's a little bit further down the line in his career. I think Finau's got a chance to win a major now.
Oh gosh, it's just the year where Tony Finau like everybody thinks this is the year Tony Finau wins a major, and he finishes teeth. Like, Tony Finau's going to be like 40% in the Millie Maker and finished and like barely make the cut, and then all of a sudden finishes T8, and all that chalk is going to end up winning.
Yeah, there's a reason he's called top 10 Tony, right? But like,
Oh,
to
gosh.
me, it just feels, and again, another person for Augusta. Like, he plays Augusta really, really well. He seems to just not be able to do it for 4 rounds. But what's this, like his 6th appearance now? 5th appearance at Augusta? Like, I think it takes a little while, generally speaking, unless your name's Scottie Scheffler, to figure out Augusta or Will Zalatoris. And I think that he knows everywhere that he's made the mistakes now. The longer it gets, the better for him. It takes some of the field out of play. Tony Finau, I mean, like he knows how to win now, which is something that wasn't always true of Tony Finau. So
You're
yeah.
all right about that. Winning back-to-back events this year.
I mean, what was he, like the second best player this year? Like, based on the strokes gained? Like, he was awesome towards the end of the season. So, you know, I think that's probably a bit more realistic than my Jason Day shout, but you know, I had to go a little bit crazy with Jason Day. I just think there's going to be a little bit. Everyone's just going to look at it and go, look, Rory's going to win the Masters. Rory or Rahm are going to win the Masters. Then it's going to be like Xander, Rory, or Rahm at the US Open. Then it's going to be Will Zalatoris or Justin Thomas or whatever at the PGA. And then it's going to be, you know, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Cameron Smith at the Open. Like, there's always the same names, right? And you have to do what you've done. You've gone with Will Zalatoris. We said, I mean, Jason Day is a little bit of a pie in the sky, but like Tony Finau can literally win any major. I don't think him winning a major is any different to him winning any other event.
I don't think it'd be crazy.
No, I don't think so too.
I'm just thinking like the best case scenario for golf next year would be Roy winning Augusta. Who'd win? Xander winning the PGA. Maybe Zalatoris winning the US Open and Rahm winning the Open, right?
Rahm, or I guess someone like a Tommy Fleetwood or a Shane Lowry again. Fitz, maybe like a European winning the Open Championship is probably their dream.
Okay, oh heck, Lee Westwood win. Oh wait, he's
yeah, that might be popular. I can say that.
No.
I mean, look, there's Tommy Fleetwood's actually coming back into some good form. He's an interesting one to watch. But
anything get crazy hot.
Does Jordan Spieth have to do something next year?
Yes.
Like, I know he won Heritage last year, but that didn't feel like enough.
I mean, it is hard to win. I mean, it's not like he beat a scrum. He beat Patrick Cantlay. Come on, Patrick Cantlay. Why can't you hit a decent drive? I mean,
he is the one that really needs to get his arse in gear in majors, Patrick Cantlay, because that one tee shot on the 7th or 8th hole, the event Xander won might have been the worst tee shot I have ever seen. Yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, he did make a couple of decent appearances in majors last year. Like, he finished 14th at the US Open, 8th at the Open. So maybe he's going in the right way now. He had that decent run at St Andrews where he had a chance through the first 36, I think. But he needs to have some big major performances, Patrick Cantlay.
All right, Tom. Thank you for hopping on. We wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hopefully, 2023 is profitable for you.
I hope so too, Dylan. And it's always a joy to join you. And thank you very much for giving up your time today over the holidays. Hopefully, it warms up for you down there in your part of the world. And you know, we get to talk golf again soon.